All right. Welcome back to Sports Talk, the Generation Gap. So, just to start off this episode, want to get some people's reactions here on a pretty big and really, I think, popular World Series that a lot of people have been talking about. Any initial reactions to that anyone has to share?
Yeah,
I thought there was some great games.
yeah. I thought end to end, it was the best series I can remember. You had two games go to extra innings, including the final. And then, of course, there was game, three that had the colossal 18 inning marathon. And several of the other games were pretty competitive. There were a couple of blowouts. But by and large, this was a really exciting series, back and forth, unpredictable, literally to the very end. And I don't remember a previous series that was as consistently exciting and well played throughout. There were a lot of terrific defensive plays, some hitting exploits for the ages, lots of clutch performances by both sides. Um, it was pretty remarkable.
Yeah, I would have to say if you were a Dodgers fan, you had to be pretty thrilled with the last 3, 4 weeks of the whole season, of course, but
Yeah,
the last 3, 4 weeks with the playoffs. I mean, when that series against the Brewers was extremely exciting. Watching Otani, what he had done, with 10 strikeouts and 3 home runs,
really. Yeah,
and that was just. I mean, if you were in Wisconsin, you were a Brewers fan, all you could do is just tip your hat. Oh my god, that was phenomenal. And to see that team, put on a great show in the World Series, but also fight a very game, team from Toronto. That was pretty cool.
yeah. Toronto very nearly had that. You look at the photographs of that one play at the plate, the guy's inches from
Yeah,
scoring and still being out.
that could easily have gone the other way, and
Yeah,
that's fun.
yeah,
That's great competition because
indeed.
for some of these teams, you can go buy a lineup and you can dispatch other teams pretty quickly, but that was a really hotly contested series.
Yeah, what Yamamoto did was
Bobby, do you
pretty
have any?
impressive. Pitching game 6, starting game 6, and then essentially closing game 7. I mean, that's never seen anything like that. But yeah, just lots of drama all the way through. It was probably the most exciting World Series, certainly game 7 I've seen.
Just to think about it, those last couple of weeks between the 18th inning game, the final game of the World Series, as exciting as that was, and then when the Dodgers, Otani took down Brewers in what many people consider maybe the single best performance by a baseball player ever in that game. Pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. Because you can't be, I get just you try to think, maybe, and Bob, you're kind of a baseball historian of sorts. Can you think of another performance where a guy threw 10 strikeouts, lasted 6 innings, and hit 3 home runs to win a series? I
No,
mean, that's just unbelievable.
that is it is pretty phenomenal. There's nothing that quite measures up to it. I can remember when Dave McNally pitched a great game for the Orioles in '66 and hit a grand slam home run. That was pretty incredible.
Right.
But still, this is
Yeah, I mean, he's reaching Babe Ruth territory, and they're already having conversations about him being in talks of, the greatest athlete of all time. Like, we're starting to
well,
get into that
yeah,
conversation.
yeah. And
Yeah, and
we're also seeing
deservedly so. I don't know if he is or not, but deservedly so. I mean, boy, you can do all those exploits on the diamond are pretty damn impressive.
we're also seeing the rise of great Japanese players having a huge impact.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few aspects to that. I mean, do you think it's right when people say, like, some people say this is like the greatest World Series of all time? Do you think that's a correct interpretation of it, or just like the best in recent years or in the modern era of baseball in the 21st century?
Probably have to do some research to be on firm ground with that one, but
Yeah.
it was the best series I can remember.
But I mean, saying just in recent memory is not doing it justice. I mean, you have to really think hard. And there has been some very good World Series. There's a number of duds too, but there's some very good ones. But boy, this one had a lot of splash.
I think that, what does it say then about like the era of baseball that we're in, where The last World Baseball Classic was won by Japan, and the last couple World Series were, the star players were Japanese. Are we in an era where baseball is basically the Japanese game now? Like kind of how you know Brazil took over soccer and stuff way back, in the 90s or 2000s.
I don't think we're quite there yet. I
Okay.
think Japan has become a major player on the world stage of baseball. That's clear.
Right.
We, in terms of sheer numbers of outstanding players, of the United States and Latin America still produce more.
Right. Major leaguers, what percentage are Japanese? I mean, it's as low as 5%.
Yeah.
You just have a very, very high impact 5% right now. And
Yeah.
that percentage will probably go up. But I agree with you. You look at Latin America, in the US, we put out a lot of good baseball players and a lot of star baseball players. It's just right
Yes.
now there are a few
Yep.
gems that have come out of Japan
Yep.
that have really, I'll say, taken everyone's attention, and deservedly so.
Yeah. And the fact that the Dodgers spend so much money is the reason they landed in LA.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. According to ChatGPT, only 0.8% of Major League Baseball players were born in Japan.
Wow.
Um,
It shows
I
just
guess
how
you got to
much the
get the
few
right
who are there stand out.
0.8%.
yeah. I mean, hey, I
But you
guess
know
that's the
what?
interesting
I
thing.
would.
Yeah.
I'll tell you something. I bet this is not exactly a news flash, but I'm sure Major League scouts are really looking hard at what's at Japan right now to bring more players over. Right? It's kind of like what you're seeing. It's very different. What you're seeing in college basketball. You're seeing all these European players come in now
Yep.
because
Yep.
they're good and they're well coached and they're ready to
Yes.
plug and play. I'm sure that, in Major League Baseball, look at all these Japanese players, and I bet that percentage jumps significantly in the next 3 years.
Yeah, there's
Without a doubt, every team is looking.
there's another big Japanese home run hitter who's being scouted right now, is likely going to be in the majors next season. So we'll see where he ends up. But yeah, I mean, as far as just being able to put together a team, Japan can put together a team right now that's can compete and beat anybody. I mean, they've won 2 World Baseball Classics now, of like what we've had maybe 5 of them. So they're all fundamentally sound and they perform real well as a unit.
Let me just ask a question. You guys know this better than me. If you're an accomplished Japanese player, other than the U.S., where do you go? I mean, is baseball in Japan, is it a big enough deal, if you will, that you can make a great living at it? I mean, these
Yeah.
guys, or is like, hey, the U.S. is Major League Baseball, is that the promised land?
So I know a little bit about this because I was in Japan a couple years ago and actually went to a Japanese baseball game. And it's the most popular sport in Japan today. Polling shows that j- baseball is the most popular sport. The number of people that watch the World Series or watch the World Baseball Classic in Japan was like humongous, and a huge number of viewers. I mean, probably players in the Japanese league are got to be like around AAA or something in terms of their quality. Maybe it's a mix between AAA and AA, but those players are serious players. Yeah, I mean, definitely a sport where I think that you can make pretty good money. Where you're, yeah, I think pretty well off. You're playing pro ball in Japan, which is why you have lots of American players that go like retire sometimes in Japan. I know Adam Jones with the Orioles did that. He went to Japan for a few years to end his career, and there are regularly American players going over to Japan today. So
Yeah, I think everybody holds Japanese baseball in pretty high regard. The Japanese major league is not on a par with the U.S. major leagues, but the high-end players from that league are, and that's pretty clear. So it's maybe averages out somewhere around AAA level, but it's kind of AAA plus because they've got some really high-end players. There's typically a delay before they come to the U.S. Because there are various kinds of rules to be observed and so forth. But I think the U.S. is a destination because there is the possibility for even more money, and because U.S. baseball, Major League Baseball, is still considered the gold standard, and premier Japanese players want to prove themselves in the United States.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be like the NBA for European players. Like, you
Mhm.
can have a pro career in Europe, playing for some of those teams like Real Madrid or something in Spain, but obviously the goal is to get to the NBA. But
I
yeah,
would say that the goal for all the American players playing over in Europe is to get back to the United States and
That's
play in the
right.
NBA.
well, for
Right.
the American players, I mean, gosh, I was thinking of European players in Europe that come to the NBA, not
Well, I know, but
American.
but you look at it like those guys make a pretty decent living over there. The
Mhm.
Americans who play over there, and as
Yeah,
well as the Europeans. I mean, the better players are making anywhere from half million to 1.5, $2 million a year playing over there. The contracts in the United States are just massive, but they can make a nice living there. But if they can somehow crack the NBA, boom,
Yeah.
and then that salary just jumps.
yeah. I mean, the problem is that I feel like a lot of players would probably want to stay in Europe and make that low million range because a lot of guys get stuck in the G League where you're not making as much as
Right,
you would in Europe.
right.
It's a big risk to come over to the NBA if you're established in Europe if you're not sure you can make an NBA roster because the G League is where your career goes to die.
No, I get it. Actually, this goes back a number of years, but a friend of mine played. He was actually drafted by the Bucks, and he was invited to come back and play for the Bucks a number of times, so they wouldn't give him a guaranteed contract. So he stayed in Turkey and Italy and Spain, etc., and he made upwards of $1 million every year. But he knew he was going to get it. And by the same token, he became much more interested in sort of the European lifestyles and touring the world. For him, it was worth it rather than going in the equivalent of what the G League is now and trying to work your way back up to a team and sign 10-day or 14-day contracts.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you sometimes will see a G League guy kind of come out of nowhere, but those guys become kind of famous just because it's so surprising that you made it out of the G League.
Right.
I think the most famous examples are like when Jeremy Lin came out of the G League to play in the NBA, and you had like Lin Sanity going on for a little while in the Twins, which is
Mhm.
pretty crazy because some Harvard grad that no one expected to all of a sudden just get super hot and was like making 30 points a game or something like that out of nowhere.
Well, he had a couple of years where he was going crazy.
Yeah, it seems like I could probably, I don't know you guys, I could probably cite more examples of guys who are maybe NBA washouts who bounced down to the G League and never really bounced back.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Then they just
definitely.
kind of disappear.
Yeah. I know that one guy you guys might have heard of. I think his name's like Mac McClung, who was like the winning like dunk contests in the All-Star game.
Hmm.
And he was in the G League. He's in the G League or was. I know he recently signed a contract with the Pacers. And so he's been playing on the Pacers team. But like even him, though, like he was pretty well known because of the dunk contests. And so that's the only reason why he probably got the shot he did.
He is kind of an attraction in his own right because of his
Yeah,
bizarre dunking. Yeah.
that's right. Yeah, you kinda have to have a unique characteristic, I guess, to make it out of the G League, sometimes, but
Well, now if you're not
yeah.
good enough to get from the G League to the NBA, you can just go back to college if you have eligibility because there are no rules.
That's
It's happening.
That's true.
Pretty good
a
money
whole
there too.
new.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
go get
Yes,
NIL in
that's up
college
quite a
instead.
bit now. That's right. Yeah, it's going to make the G League obsolete.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Are we surprised, though? I mean, the NCAA has wanted to be like the minor league system for sports for a long time. I mean, it already is for football, and yeah, I mean, G League.
I don't know if they want to be. I wouldn't say they want to be a minor league
I mean,
because I
I
think
don't
in a
know.
lot of respects they are bigger than the big league.
Mhm.
A lot of locales and a lot of fans.
Huge fan bases. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you look at places, boy, get on to Louisiana, ask who whether people rather root for LSU or the New Orleans Saints. The
Yeah,
LSU, right? LSU is much
yeah,
was a much bigger sport in
Which
football than
coaching
the
job
Saints
has more
are,
pressure?
and across the South, you see a lot of that. Uh, I don't think they want to be a minor league or a semi-pro type league. They just want to be the league. Uh,
yeah. That's fair.
Unfortunately, I mean, it's just changed, right? It's just changed a lot. So now there's a lot of money flowing in, which has really been very disruptive.
Yeah, I mean, the NCAA didn't
Yeah.
want this. They fought as hard as they could for as long as they could to never have to pay players. and it eventually got forced upon them. And now we've just kind of washed their hands of it, and they're just like don't seem to care anymore about any rules or anything. It's just a total free for all.
But did they kind of set themselves up for that though? Because they made, they agreed with like the NBA, for example, that players have to play in college first before they go pro. Like, wouldn't
Well,
they
that was
have
that was
avoided that
a
if they
rule.
just did? That was an NBA rule. Why would the NBA make people go to college for your?
Well,
I
they
mean,
didn't
this,
necessarily make
Well,
them go to
the
college, but
NBA
they had to
wanted to
be
kind
a
of
certain
regulate.
age.
It was an age
Yeah.
thing. They didn't want
Okay.
guys going up there and getting physically beaten up and signing bad contracts because it was giving the NBA a bad look.
interesting. Okay.
So it was more of a
And,
PR
and also,
effort,
the
like, hey,
NBA realized that
we have to stem the flow of these guys from coming to the NBA before they're ready, maturity wise, physically and mentally. And
also
signing
the
sport
NBA did
contracts.
not want to spoil its relationship with the NCAA because the NCAA was producing all this NBA talent.
Yeah, exactly.
They could afford to wait a year or two for these guys.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I think hockey
Interesting.
has the best system where you can get drafted, but that doesn't ruin your eligibility. You can get drafted and then you can still play college. And you can play college until you're ready to sign, and then you go pro.
And in hockey is better set up to do that because of all the, I'll say all the minor league teams they can assign these guys to. They're all affiliated with, like be the Canadians, it could be the Blackhawks. Remember, they have a whole bunch of teams underneath them
They'll have a couple. Yeah, they'll
that
have
they can assign
the
these
AHL and
guys to. Where
ECHL team.
right, but you don't see that in the NBA or professional football. They just
Right.
don't have that same system in place. Where in hockey they do, and it works well.
So why can't players go from high school football to the NFL? Is there a reason for that specifically?
That's
Usually
an
physical development.
NFL rule. Yeah, you got to be
So the
Yeah.
NFL is forcing
21 or
players to
something.
go to college first. Interesting.
Well, I think they can skip college, but I don't think they can get around the age requirement.
Can't get around the age
right.
requirement.
So you might as well play college because that's the developmental league.
Interesting.
And it's a lot of it's just they're just trying to protect themselves legally. Some of these guys go into the league and they're not physically ready and they get hurt. Say they have a career-ending injury. The NFL knew that there was a good chance that these guys were not physically really ready to play. It's just one more headache for the NFL.
Yeah,
But kind of by Bob's point earlier, why not just have the colleges develop these guys? We'll get a better handle on who's truly has the upside ability to compete in the NFL, and it works better for everybody. Trying to nab these kids right out of high school would be, it's already crazy enough for college teams. I don't think the NFL wants that headache.
So does the NCAA have any blame then at all in terms of the situation, or are they just kind of stuck dealing with the issue and just trying to navigate the best they can?
I don't know. Bob made an opinion on this, or Bobby, but on one hand, you can kind of blame the NCAA for not being more proactive, but it's kind of just seems that that's turned out to be such a feckless organization that it's almost irrelevant.
Yeah. NCAA was bitten by the commercial bug, 50 years ago. The harder you chase the money, and there was so much to be made, and there was just no end to it. But as the revenues for the schools and the salaries of the coaches and administrators continued to escalate, it started to look more and more absurd that you had players who were bound by rules of amateurism. It just started to seem completely insane and exploitive.
Right. Got too big to control.
And I guess, the future of college sports will be interesting then. We'll see what that turns out to be.
Yeah, be very interested to see where it is 5 years from now. Things are happening. Things are changing so quickly.
Yeah, it's basically
And
pro
in one of the
sports now.
weirdest sets of,
So you need
and one of the weirdest circumstances emerging from all this is that it was teams from Northwestern and Dartmouth that pioneered the idea of unionization.
I know, the troublemakers.
all those students trying to get educations and use them. Nonsense.
Yeah, that's right.
You're gonna play football.
That's right.
Yeah.
Get your priorities
And they
straight.
ruined my video games for a decade. They couldn't make NCAA football video game for 10 years because one guy whined about his likeness being used.
Yeah.
They finally brought it back, and now everybody who's in it gets like $50 and a free copy of the game or something.
All right. Well, do you guys want another topic question, or you want to move on to the lightning round?
What's the lightning round?
Lightning round is random questions. That's the lightning round.
And you're asking them?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead. Start the lightning round. Let's see what
All
happens.
right, we're doing lightning round. All right, here we go. This is a new segment for the Sports Talk, the Generation Cat podcast / YouTube show, but really YouTube show because we're not
Any
audio only.
restrictions on the answers? I mean, is it like got to
No,
be
answers
limited
are
to
wherever
3
you
words
want.
or something?
No,
What?
but the questions are targeted though, so they're like
Okay,
focused
all right.
on you guys specifically.
Yeah.
So first, who wants to go first for lightning round question? All right, I'll just start. Okay, let's go with Bobby. Are you ready for lightning round? All right. So Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce are now engaged. Can you name one Taylor Swift song?
Sure, Blank Space. That's my favorite one.
Boom. Okay. All right. Bobby's doing well. All right. Let's see. John, do you think Charlie, who's not here today, has ever cheated against you in golf?
Yes.
Can you give an example?
No. I'll
No.
just answer the first question.
So you don't
very
have any
disappointing.
evidence to provide right now.
There are disappointments in life, right? There are disappointments in life. But I don't see a reason to go into detail, make it any worse. But yeah,
Has this happened more than once?
I'd prefer not to get in.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Let's see. Bob, you've run a lot of 5K races recently, but throughout your 5K race history, have you ever accidentally tripped someone in a 5K race?
No, I don't think so.
No? Okay.
Can you
No.
rephrase that question? Has he ever intentionally tripped someone?
It occurred to me, but no, I did not.
Okay.
You couldn't catch the guy in front of him.
That's right. Well, I mean, I remember that was a year and a half ago. Benny and I ran one together.
Yeah.
Who won?
And yeah, I could see Benny was going to overhaul me there in the last, it was about the last half mile. I was thinking maybe I got to do something about this before before there's a gap.
My gosh. I wouldn't be surprised because I think this is something that's actually happening that needs to be investigated. So,
Really?
there's been a lot of you showing off you winning 5Ks magically, and I'm not so sure they're real. So
they're real, but the formula there's a formula that I had to figure out for this. It relates somewhat to training, but it mostly relates to figuring out what motivates elite runners to go to the races that they go to. And by and large, they like very well-run corporate races on flat courses that give them a realistic shot at running a personal best time or a very fast time. They're very much driven by the times they record. So I found that I always do better on courses that are difficult and slow and so forth, and the best guys tend to avoid them. So you clean out some of that competition at the top, and I've got a fighting chance, at least in my group. Yeah.
that's the strategy.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice.
It's paid off this fall. I've tried it out. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
I got 3 firsts this fall in my group. That
How many people are in your group?
well, that's a good question. It usually runs from about 6 to 12.
Okay.
So it's not like huge, not throngs of guys.
Nice. All right.
But some of them, again, the high-end guys have been doing this all their lives. They were probably all college track stars. And, they're knocking out times that just blow you away. I mean, how can he continue to do this? But
Fair enough.
anyway, but they're picking their spots. And I kind of figured out an algorithm for how they pick them, and I go the other way.
Let's see. Bobby, do you think that post-game interviews are pointless?
Oftentimes they are. I mean, it depends on the situation. I mean, if it's just a run-of-the-mill regular season game, you're not going to get much. I think the only time they're real interesting is after some major event. So after a championship or college football after a big upset when the fans are storming the field, that's, usually an interesting interview. I mean, kind of electric. BJ Fleck really, really shines in those moments. So yeah, it just depends on the situation. But usually no.
Do you guys agree with Bobby's answer there?
Part of it.
Well, all of it.
The PJ Fleck part, I think, is kind of ridiculous, but
Pull the boat, sky you up. Go Bars! Anytime we beat a ranked team, storm the field, It's pretty intense.
PJ Fleck is about PJ Fleck.
Oh, shots fired. Wow.
Well, there's blackboard material for Minnesota.
Not sure. I'm not
I
sure.
don't think anybody would. If you asked 100 people that randomly, no college football or Big Ten football, you asked that question, 95% would say
There's a lot of perception out there, but he does a lot of work.
even in Minneapolis, a lot of the sports writers would sign up for that.
Some of them, some of the old school guys might to a degree, but he does a lot of stuff in the community. The team always has a great.
He lets you know about it. He's not Mr. Anonymous, that's for sure. He makes sure everybody
geez,
knows.
John.
It's
Wow. Do you think has a cult of personality, John? Is that what you're insinuating?
No, I'm just saying he is who he is.
yeah,
Okay.
and that's absolutely right, and he's okay with that.
Yeah, and he's comfortable with it. That's fine. If you
Yeah.
want to drink from that well, go for it.
I think the water in Minnesota is looking a little better than in Madison right now.
At least just honest water in Madison's honest.
Okay, yeah, it's looking good.
All right. Well, let's see. Let's go with John. Is it better to have a great coach or a great player?
Short term or long term?
Up to you.
Short term, a great player. Longer term, a great
Okay.
coach.
Okay, that's fair. I mean, you could argue that. Yeah. I mean, if you had to choose, I guess you could say like a great coach, can create great players.
Right. I mean, and great players create great coaches, right?
Well, that too.
So it's and a great coach will tell you typically, if they're really honest, they'll tell you they need some great players.
Yeah.
But if they want to just be kind of true to their say the culture they're trying to build, they wouldn't necessarily suggest that. But they all know. They all know whatever sport it is. You need some great players to really make it to the top.
Yeah. So I guess to be a good coach, you just have to be competent enough to utilize your great players to a certain extent.
You have to be charming enough to recruit some great players.
Well, in
And
college,
develop
yes.
them. And
Yeah.
develop.
And pros, not necessarily, I guess. It's more like you get who you get. But you have to be able to identify talent too
Right.
if you're like
Well,
drafting.
you do. I mean, it's I will say that let's say some colleges are really great at developing players. Let's say, just look at football. If you look at Wisconsin up until recently and Iowa, were tremendous at taking walk-ons or low 3-star players and turning them into NFL stars. It's amazing. So that was great coaching and great development. Not all coaches can do that, but typically, I would say my own observation be that sort of patience developing players is not appreciated at a number of, we'll say, blue blood programs, because they're looking for instant gratification and development. They just don't have time for it.
Yeah. That makes sense. Let's see, Bob, let's see, how impactful are fans on their team?
I mean, during a game or
During a
in
game.
the bigger scheme of things?
Well, I think it goes both ways. Yeah, let's do during a game and
All
in
right.
the
Well,
big
I
scheme of
do
things.
think fans can do a lot to create a culture and an atmosphere that is conducive to success. Been watching this for a long time. I remember the Baltimore Colts had a super loyal fan base that generated huge energy and excitement at every Colts game, and undoubtedly made a difference. But you see that now. You see teams like the Chiefs and some others have formidable home field advantage. Bobby and I went to the Chiefs-Ravens game early in the season, and the Chiefs won handily, but it was apparent early in the game that the crowd was going to be a factor, because very first possession, the Ravens couldn't hear the play calls, and they were discombobulated right away. And once they fell behind, they never caught up.
There's probably a couple other NFL franchises are like that too. I mean,
For sure.
I'd have to say that the Packers are like that.
I think Green Bay's always had a good fan base.
They have a great
I
fan
couldn't
base.
testify to the
and
loudness.
It's culture, and everybody loves going to Green Bay for a game.
Yeah.
They get treated well. The fans are knowledgeable. They're really into their sport, and when the Well, the visiting players go there. They know it's like a shrine there. So it's got its own culture, and the fans are really part of it. I agree. Kansas City, I've never been there for a game, but you get that feeling it's the same sort of thing, the connection between the fans and the teams. There's probably some other franchises where there's a connection between the fans and the teams, but it's not always healthy. Look at the New York Jets, right? I mean, the fans show up, but they're unmerciful when it comes to how they treat their coaches and players if they don't
Yeah.
perform well, right?
Now it's probably
Well,
fairly reasonable in terms of
how
the
do you ever create a,
coaching.
a winning culture when you're in an environment like that?
Yeah, Jets had another sell-off today
I
at the deadline.
I think that's more. I think this is less about the Jets fans and more about the ownership. To be honest, the ownership is atrocious, and the coaching staff is. I don't think there's really been necessarily a great selection of a front office for the New York Jets. It's been kind of just a bunch of random people thrown in the mix. Now it's hard to get people to go to the New York Jets because it's been such a struggling franchise. But the ownership, they're picking time and time again. Woody Johnson is picking terrible people to run the team that may be good in a supportive role on another team, which a lot of them end up in supporting roles, but it's a terribly run franchise. It really is. I think it's pretty bad. I think that falls on the ownership at the end of the day. I think he has a little bit of a, personality where he wants to be too hands-on, kind of like Jerry Jones and the Cowboys. The Cowboys have been more successful, but yeah, I think it's deeper than the fan base. I think that's yeah, really not the issue. I mean, any like Philadelphia, for example, has a fan base that will boo anyone if they play badly. But Philadelphia wins Super Bowls because their ownership, I think, just has done better at figuring out how to put a team together.
Mhm. In fact, I think Philadelphia does a great job, to your point, bringing on players who have that same sort of toughness and mettle and kind of a cold attitude in a way, as the players are like the fans. And when you go there to play in Philadelphia, you embrace that. That's the way it's going to be. The Pittsburgh Steelers have kind of their own identity that way, right? There's a real link between how their fans behave and how that team is built. It's kind
Yeah,
of cool to see that. Where some teams like the Cleveland Browns traditionally never, you think they'd have the same ability to do that, but the Cleveland Browns have just never been able to put it together to create
yeah,
a team that really reflects the fan base.
yeah. It's interesting. I mean, I feel like the Jets fan base is pretty low key in terms of they're not like super aggressive. I mean, they're working class compared to like the Giants fan base, obviously. But yeah, I never really got the impression the Jets fan base was like really rowdy or something like that. At least from what
They
I've
are a
seen.
loyal band.
Yeah, they're
They
they're loyal,
they
but
stick together.
I don't think they're like Eagles fans, which are notorious
Oh
or
no, no,
something like
no.
that. I think they're pretty friendly to opposing fans, and the booing. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's hard not to boo sometimes with those guys, with that ownership group. But yeah, not that I condone that, but it's
Well, let
pretty
me ask you
bad.
this. I mean, a little lightning round back to you. When the Jets fans boo, are they booing ownership, the coaches, or the players? In what order?
I definitely it's ownership first, coaches second, players last for
Yeah,
sure.
that's what I would think.
People do just cannot stand Woody Johnson, and you know I don't know anything about the guy personally or whatever, but she's just the team has been so bad the past decade that you gotta wonder like, okay, something's not clicking here. And if you're the owner, like if you're in charge of a company, you know, if this wasn't a closed system where everyone in the NFL, kind of benefits if you as a part of the ownership group, he would probably his company would go bankrupt. It's just not going well. In a hot market like New York, of course, you can afford to be a bad owner and still, be fine. Yeah, I mean, it's something where I think a lot of Jets fans would probably want a new ownership group to take over that might be able to find something that's different that could work. Because team hasn't been good since the 2010s, but they haven't had a good quarterback since like Joe Namath, which is ridiculous for an NFL franchise. I mean, come on. And so many so many like top 5 draft picks to choose a quarterback. like, how can you choose so many quarterbacks and they all turn out to be bad until they leave? Like, and that, like Sam Darnold, for example, has done really well this year with the Seahawks. Geno Smith is
Absolutely.
still starter, even though, he's not great or anything, but something just isn't adding up.
Well, thinking of fan impact, you might consider other sports. We just got through the World Series, and there were a lot of home field losses during the World Series. Baseball may be the least impacted by fan intensity, fan noise, etc. I mean, everybody can feel the vibe in the stadium. Everybody's excited, but by gosh, a pitcher pitches and a batter has to hit, and that all the noise in the world doesn't help all that much. In fact, adrenaline can be problematic because it's such a skill that requires such fine tuning to throw that perfect pitch or to hit a good pitch. The games, I think the most direct impact I think I've seen at games is basketball and hockey, which are both driven by energy, and the players really do feed off that.
Yeah, I think the football, in some respects, they do. If they can feed off, like an offense can feed off it, or a defense
Yeah,
can feed off a big
yeah,
hit with the fans react. Like
Yeah.
agree in baseball, golf's the extreme. You have too much adrenaline
yeah,
flowing.
right.
It messes you up big time. But in baseball, there's a lot of technique and timing.
Yeah,
And you can be thrown off. Actually, it might be Bobby a good or Benny a good AI question for you to dig into is from a baseball perspective, how do how do teams perform in the playoffs at home? How do they hit? How do they pitch? And stuff like that. I mean, it could be kind of interesting just to kind of test your dad's thesis there or hypothesis.
Yeah. That could be interesting to look into. Yeah. Um, yeah, not sure.
but I remember in college basketball going back a ways. Now that the arenas are bigger and bigger, there's a little less intimacy. But I can remember at the University of Wisconsin gym or uh, in Milwaukee, going to Milwaukee Classic. There was a very intimate setting. A lot of the fans were really, really close to courtside. My gosh, the intensity was really evident.
That's true. I kind of I'll go back to football. But I just went up to Oregon, and the fans are right
Oh
on
yeah,
top of the players. You go to University of Iowa, the fans
yeah.
are right on top of the players, and it's got a different feel.
Hmm.
It's got a way different feel. It's actually kind of cool. I think the
Yes.
players enjoy it too. Like, wow, I mean, this is a cool setting for a game.
Interesting. Let's see. Well, let's close it out then with just a kind of a general question. What's the most exciting thing in sports for you guys right now? Most exciting thing going on right now in sports for you?
I think just the fact that we're in November and you got everything going at once. I mean, baseball just finished, but
Yeah.
got NHL, college hockey, NBA, college basketball just started, NFL, college football. I mean, this is the best time of year.
Just this time of the season.
Yeah. I think football is hitting its stride right now, both in the NFL and the college level. So I think kind of excitement is nearing its peak in football, and
Right.
especially in the college, because the big rivalry games, in most cases, are about to be played, and so good time for that.
I agree. The next 4 or 5 weeks are really fun in college football. The college football playoff will be a lot of fun. And then just about that time when that wraps up, the NFL playoffs are kicking in, and that's pretty cool too. You've got a fun 3 months of football. It is nice if you're if you're a Badger fan. It's nice to have basketball season start
Yes, that's right.
because you have something else to focus on. But
That's right.
yeah,
They beat up on Campbell last night.
we have an interesting team. It's you never know where it's going to go. It might go nowhere, but you look at that team, you're like, these guys can gel. This could be very interesting. So it's
Yep,
fun.
they look like a Wisconsin team. I watched Bobby and I were watching their game and the Minnesota game simultaneously last night,
Say
and
that.
both teams are kind of interesting.
Yeah, Badgers are big though. That is
Yeah,
a big team,
yep, they always are.
and they've got a point guard who's probably the most electric point guard they've had since Devin Harris when he was here.
Wow. Okay.
So I mean, I don't know if you could see it, but that guy can slice and dice.
Right.
And they're a good shooting team. Their defense is kind of a sieve right now, but you know, it's their philosophy has changed. It's now we have to in the new era of NIL and transfers, we have to like have an offense that flows and guys can fit in and go,
Mhm.
and we'll work on defense later, which is very counter to how Wisconsin has always, coached and
Yeah.
played. But hey, it's kind of fun to watch.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, yeah, all the major sports are going on besides baseball. And yeah, I mean, the soccer season is picking up in Europe, and Champions League is going on in Europe. And then, of course, the MLS playoffs are going on. So Messi is center stage there. And yeah, the MLS continues to make a lot more money. So we'll see how that league continues to grow. And Messi
Mhm.
re signed for a couple more years. So he'll get more attention to the league. So American soccer continues to grow with the World Cup coming in 2026.
Yeah. Yeah. Mostly yesterday, which was opening day for the college basketball season, you had games where big teams were taking on opponents one class below, basically. Almost every sort of high major Power Five team was taking on a mid major or sometimes a low major. It was noticeable in the men's game. There were a couple of even matchups. There was Arizona and Florida and a couple of others, mostly somewhat uneven matchups, but it was more acute on the women's side. I didn't see any of the games. Today, I just ran through some of the scores because I heard a couple of them on the radio when I got up this morning. And there were 24 women's games last night where the margin was over 50. And there were, and if you set the margin at 30, it probably would have been most of the games. I mean, the women's game is not as deep. And so the difference between the high end teams and the low end teams is still vast.
Yeah, that's the kind of lingering, I
I mean,
suppose.
I think it'll eventually change, but it shows there's still a distance to travel.
Cool. Well, let's close it off then for this episode.
Yeah.